Alright, so I've got this A72 in. The LCD panel is not working, and it has the camera error turn off and back on again error message occurring. Whoop! I just launched that battery. I think that battery is dead. Make sure this is the right. Yeah, camera error, turn power off, then on. I don't know if you. I don't know if it is able to be seen. I don't know. But the LCD panel's not working and I get the error. So it's most likely a shutter issue. And then once I actually can get into the menu, I'm betting I can turn the LCD panel on. I'm betting it's just set to EVF only. Some folks don't like the LCD turning on. But we'll see. Once I get it tore down, if this is an issue. Well, if it also has an issue with the LCD. Not 100% right now, obviously. It seems to be that I've been doing a lot of shutter repairs recently, and what I've been finding is majority of times it is debris from the camera, as in broken components, mostly from either the sensor mounting points. The mounting bracket points are cracking and finds its way into the shutter, or different frame components. Different parts of the internal case frame are breaking. It doesn't seem as if the A72 line anyway, the A72 line seems to be made of a weaker, a lot of the framing components, and especially the image sensor frame. It's made from components that are weaker alloys. I'm still working on an A7S2 that I've done like 4 parts on, because I've torn it apart so many times trying to get all the stuff out. It might just come down to, actually, now that I think about it, I got to replace. I didn't have originally a new gear, so I tried to clean up the gear teeth, and I don't know, maybe you've seen that particular video, those videos, but the gear teeth were damaged, and I tried to clean them up to see if it would work, but I don't think that was a solution. I did have some. I did have a replacement gear on order, a set of them. I think I ordered 4 or 5 of them to replace the gear, and I'm hoping that will fix it. I just haven't. I haven't revisited it just yet, because I've had cameras that I know I can probably fix, that I've been working on as more of a priority over that one. But I'll get back to it. LCD panel itself, looks fine. been doing a lot of the A72 line lately, so I'm kind of getting the hang of the screw placements. That was okay. Screw wheel. I was there for a while having some trouble remembering where some of the screws were, but I think I'm starting to get it down. The A72 is a unique one on this screw, this upper corner screw, because it's a silver screw instead of a black screw. I don't want to come out of there. Oh, there we go. It's a silver screw. The S and the R don't have that particular screw. Got something in the face of this. Couldn't get my screwdriver in that. Yeah, got a little bit of sticky residue there. Yeah, this got set in a puddle of Coke or something. I don't know. Or some coffee. No, I don't think I'm gonna taste it to find out. Doesn't really have a smell, it's too old. Yeah, I'll have to wash that off and oh, okay, look at that. The bottom popped off and a post came out already. So yeah, I'm expecting a little bit of broken carnage inside this thing. We're gonna have another piece of metal in the shutter, I betcha. Let's take a look in the okay, so if you look down here, that mount looks okay, but however, right in the bottom there, right on that blue pad, I don't know if the angle is right, I see some black. Either that's dust or it's part of the sensor mount being cracked. One of the two. Set this aside. The troublemaker screws. Oh yeah. Perfect. Got that one out easy. Kinda getting the hang of getting these out. They're such a pain. If I can't get it, then just use a magnet. Ugh. That came out pretty smooth. Nothing majorly dirty. That back case, so that's fortunate. I do see some dust in here. It also could be just some debris in the gears too. I just had to do some emergency work on a camera that I sold recently, where this camera never had any issues with the shutter previously. I think this was one that I had done a top ribbon replacement on, and when I went to test it before I mailed it, the shutter gave me that camera error message, turn off, back on. So I had to take the whole thing apart to get out what looked to be like plant debris and some dust got into the gears, and had to clean it. So it really doesn't take much for the shutter gears to be impacted to a point where they don't move properly. I also think there was a slight alignment issue with one of the gears, but I can't say for certain since I did see the other plant material. I couldn't say what it was exactly. It might have just been, you know, some small pieces of grass or something that was causing the problem. But after I cleaned it up real good, I disassembled the whole gear assembly. After I cleaned it up, I tested it out, took about 50 photos, and didn't have any issues, and sent it on its way. Hopefully I won't hear of any problems when the buyer gets it, but if they do, then I'll resolve it. But oh yeah, the stupidest thing ever here. I'd like to know the specific reasoning around this little plastic tab. Is it just to hold these two components together? Is it some sort of dust shield? Is it just there to be a pain in the butt? I don't know. Everything's kind of dusty in this camera. So. Yeah, there's a little sand and debris up in here, so we could have some sand in the shutter gears. I try to get out all that debris as I'm working on it on a camera so that it doesn't become a problem later. It usually comes off pretty easily, and I'll just save you from issues later on, and whoever is gonna use the camera, of course. A little bit of liquid there. I find it interesting that on the A72 this particular bracket is stainless instead of copper. I guess since it's the lower line, they spent a little bit less on the on this plate, this heat transfer plate, framing plate. Kind of does many things. What's also interesting is the layout of the board is different. The board has the ribbon here instead of in the upper corner there. So that's kind of another little unique thing about the A72 versus the R and the S. Utilizes the same memory card reader. My cat Louie is crying. He wants to go upstairs. The girlfriend is out visiting a friend. I normally would be upstairs with, we take the kitties and let them have some time upstairs. We let the kitties have some time upstairs after work, but I'm busy, and you know, she's busy, so this shouldn't take too long. I'll be done here and done with this part anyway. This half in about 40 minutes. I took that screw out. This is just being a little stubborn. Oh yeah, it does have a, I forgot, there is a pad on the back side of this. Oh, I can see some debris in it already. Yeah, see, there's like, that was what was stuck on that other camera in the gears, was this plant debris. This is a really gooey pad that they use here, so it gathers all kinds of stuff, sand and particles. I don't know about the later lines of cameras, but the A7 and the A72 line have horrible weatherproofing. These things get so much dirt and debris in them, it's just ridiculous. They probably could have reduced significantly the amount of repairs on these cameras that needed to take place if they would have put some weather sealing around the cage components and around the lens components. Just a little bit of something to keep a lot of this debris out. What's funny is they did put some foam around the battery door, but they didn't put much of anything around anything else. Gently. Oh, what is that? Okay, I thought that was broken. This is tight. Be mindful of that ribbon. debris in there, making it tight fit. A lot of this teardown is generally the same across most of these two-line models, except for, you know, the few things that I've kind of pointed out. I use a lot of the same components, but once you know one, you can pretty much do them all. These can be pretty stiff on here. You don't want to break any of the traces. Be very, very gentle. Take your time. I used to go at these small cables with the tweezers, but after breaking one of them, I learned my lesson. And just take your time with it. It's not worth breaking one. I broke a single trace once. And that's all it takes to have to replace the whole top ribbon, which is probably half hour, 45 minutes, which is probably half hour, 45 minutes with the camera tore down, just replacing that ribbon alone. See how much camera time I have with this. I wouldn't want to just do a tear down video, because I've done plenty of tear downs. I feel the grit. There's a lot of grit coming out of this thing. Found out how sensitive some of these EVF sensors are, the proximity sensors, man. I was having a bear of a time with one of them. Come on. There we go. Ended up having to use my black permanent marker and blacking out a couple, about a millimeter. About a millimeter of sensor space. Because every time I put the eye cup on, it would trigger. Like, I've never seen a EVF sensor trigger from putting on the eye cup. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. I think when I bought the camera, it didn't have an iCup on it, which explains why I didn't have it on it. Because every time you put the dang thing on, it would just trigger it. It took me, I don't know, an hour to figure out that if you cover up part of the sensor within, how it seems to work is as long as you're within a millimeter of the sensor, it doesn't trigger. So I just used a permanent marker and covered up part of the plastic on the iCup. Not the iCup, but the EVF bracket. And then it was fine. Oh yeah, see, there's a lot of grit in there. There's a lot of sand. Fortunately, the sensor brackets are looking good. Just we're going to be dealing with some sand in the gears, I bet. Let's get this board out. This little plastic tool that I use, I had gotten some off of eBay, some cheap ones before. I mean, this is a fairly common tool, but this one I ended up getting from iFixit. It's a lot stronger quality. The other ones were pretty basic plastic, and this one I'm going to be using for a while. And I got like I got a bag full of like 10 of them or something like that, so I'll be set for quite a few years. They have some good stuff. Yeah, these I got from iFixit also, and that's what I use. I cut out a piece. I made this tool for the LCD panel ribbon because it's not where you can take a straight flat one like this and flip it up. You gotta have that cut out. There's a couple other, I guess, ribbons that I would really like to have a tool for. One of them is this ribbon here. It really stinks that this connects into the top under here. I'd like to have a tool that I could use to go around and kind of grab those tabs, kind of like this one in a sense. Actually, you know what, I wonder if that even, maybe I can use something like this. Yeah, I wish it was maybe a little bit wider, but I might be able. I made this one for the other one of the LCD panels I had a very, very wide metal piece instead of this thin one. It was this wide, so I had to make that one to do it. I've used that once, so I wonder if that was if it was like an aftermarket panel or bracket or what the deal was. This has got a bunch of grit in it. But yeah, I wonder if I could utilize that one and clean it up a little bit more. It's just a bear to put that one in the receiving part. The connector piece. been keeping the board on this tray so that I don't have to take those two components apart if I don't have to. Generally, you don't need to. There's nothing on the other side of the board that you need to get to anyway. Unless you need to visually inspect it, of course. I've had to visually inspect the opposite side of a board due to an issue with components not functioning, and no other thing pointed to it except for some corrosion on the upper side and then some corrosion on the back side underneath you know, this panel. Interesting. It's got some like weird dust in there. Which posts broke? Okay, so that post broke. Is that one loose? No. No. Oop, this one's... Is this one loose? Yeah, that one's loose. I'll get it out here in a second. Actually, I bet I don't want it to fall in there. Let's use some Rodico. I've used this before on the channel. Rodico is a watchmaking like putty used to it's used to do all kinds of stuff to get like it's used for getting like fingerprints off of components, cleaning components. You can use it for gripping, you know, stuff like this. Hopefully it'll grab it. Yeah, no, not quite sticky enough. I just have to get it by taking off the sensor. I just didn't want it to fall in, but we'll find it if it does. Yep, okay. Got a cracked bracket right there. Very common fracture point, and look what's missing. This alloy is ridiculously easy to break, it seems. You take any sort of hit and you're breaking one of those brackets. I bet we have that in the gear. It's right above. I mean, it's right above the shutter gear. It's right above the shutter gear, so that is going to be what's in there. I knew I saw some black right here, so you can see the black, and I didn't notice that crack when I was taking it apart, or when I, you know, initially saw this black and was looking down there. I didn't think I saw anything, but from the top down, you can't see that that's broken. It's only around the corner that you see that that's broken. So that's what is more than likely the cause. And what's really unfortunate is that that's the sensor, you know? I mean, it's a part of the sensor, and the alloy that they use is just brittle. Whatever they use is just brittle. Now, there's been reports of this occurring that I've read for... Oh, where did that come from? Oh, they were all broken. All those posts were broken. All three of them. All three of them were broken. I didn't even see that one come off. But there's been reports of the sensor bracket breaking, cracking. You know, back when this camera first came out. It's kind of a known issue in a way. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to lose these. It's kind of a known issue. But they've also done testing. As long as all three of them aren't broken, like if you had seen me dig into an A7R2, I think it was called like A7R2 Carnage or something like that. That thing was the most destroyed A7R2 I've ever seen so far, anyway. But all three of the bracket mounting points were broken on that. I could imagine that particular one, I was able to get a refund on that one, but I can imagine that the sensor probably didn't perform as intended. But they have done tests. They have done tests, from what I was reading, on devices that have, at least one site did tests. It was a larger camera site, a rental site, I think, maybe, that they did tests on these cameras that had the broken sensor brackets, and the performance of the camera really wasn't hindered, so it still functioned. As long as, you know, the whole thing wasn't just bouncing around in there, wobbling, it was fine and functioned as intended. It's just kind of crazy to see your expensive camera be damaged in that way. Now let's see if we find something in the gears here. So okay, that's working. That side's working. I didn't see nothing fall out yet. I do see some grit in there. Alright, so fully rotated. But there definitely is some sand in there. So we're gonna have to take this, yeah, there's sand all over this thing. We'll have to take this apart. I haven't found the, it's possible that that bracket piece fell out of the camera already, like, as the user, the last owner was using it. Might have fallen out already. Might not be in the camera. I have had good luck with, I don't know what you want to call it, refurbishing these shutters. Getting fairly decent at it. It's not something that you really want to become decent at, I suppose. Or maybe you do. Maybe I do. It is nice to be able to do it. I'm just babbling, I guess. Those are. These are pretty fragile. I don't know if this outside trace does anything, but I certainly don't want to break it. Ooh, okay, that was a little more aggressive than I wanted, but it ended up being fine. Yeah, you can see sand in there. There is a little bit of like a grease on there, so it can collect. But it's mostly a contact point for here so that it knows where it's at in the shutter cycle, I think, for the motor. And yeah, there is a bunch of grit. There is a bunch of grit in here. I do like how they did the this particular bracket on the A72s and A72, A7R2, A7S2, because you don't have to take it out. You can. But the nice thing is that the spring is attached to it. You don't have to mess with it. I always hate it when those springs are not attached to things and then they just fly and you are lucky to find it again. I don't really see anything in this particular gear. It's in these white gears. I've seen those bracket components stuck in this white gear here and completely chew them up, and that's what happened to that A7S that I was working on. I was hoping to get by with not having to replace the whole gear, but I'm gonna have to do it. I'm not sure exactly how this gear comes out, but so far I have not done that on any of them. Louis playing. I've just been getting the grid out manually. Oh, it's still in there. Piece of sand. Some plant debris. Top gear looks good. You'd be surprised at how much torque these little motors have in them. Because I've had sand and debris like smashed into the plastic gear to the point where you could barely get it out. And this is where all the grit is. Probably our issue. I'm hoping that's where the issue is. We're still going to take a look at the other side of the shutter assembly. See if there's anything stuck in there. Both the shutter shutter parts moved though, so they aren't obstructed themselves. Alright, so that's cleaned up. I'll reassemble this side. Actually, I want to put this on first. I wish there wasn't so much movement in this gear over here, but maybe it's necessary. So that's working. I always hate reassembling these. It's just a pain in the butt getting them together. Maybe I'm getting better at it, because that was a bit smoother than I normally am putting it together. Normally I'm fumbling around with this thing for like 5 minutes. So this is the other thing. It seems like this gear, maybe it slides down a little bit, and because of that it ends up putting a little bit too much like side torque or something on it. It puts a little bit of the wrong angle of torque on the gear assembly and stops it up. That's my other kind of theory. Because with watchmaking, with all the little pivot gears in there, the little standoffs that the gears go into, if you have those any sort of crooked, it throws off the whole alignment of the gear assembly. And it's possible that this gear, if it's not aligned correctly, it could throw the whole assembly in kind of a little bit of a whack. So it is more towards so this gear, I mean, you can see it shuffles up and down on it. I wish that gear really didn't do that, but I mean, it looks like it's fairly well aligned to me, so I don't think that was the problem. And there certainly wasn't anything stuck in here that was noticeable. And I don't see anything visibly, I don't think, stuck in here. So yeah, we never did find that piece. I don't see it. I don't see it wedged in here at all. I guess we'll just go ahead and reassemble. For now, I'm probably going to, right after I get this on, I'm going to probably take a break and finish the rest later so that the kitties can have some time upstairs. We'll reassemble and a little bit later. I hate that I have to repeat myself because my stupid camera turns off every 5 minutes. But yeah, we're gonna put this back together, the shutter piece, and come back and revisit this later this evening. Why, this isn't right. This bracket, I think, is backwards. That's what happens when you talk too much. That's better. Okay. Toss this in here and call it good for now. Alright, I'm going to be taking a break and I'll finish this here in a little while.